conversation.
Gen Z slang. Yeah.
Gen Z slang.
Because nobody's doing
cap.
that online.
Full
No cap.
No cap?
Capped.
I'm stink at that.
You're capped.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, your host, joined by the amazing, talented, I can't even get through it. I'm going to choke, Gary Voigt.
I was wondering why you were even trying.
Man,
There's no way
it
you're
got
able to
stuck
finish
in my
that.
throat. I was trying to be nice, and I couldn't do it, man. I can't do it.
No,
It's against my moral code, I think, to be nice to you. Built in.
I'm just the cast net left behind, slowing down the ship.
That's right. Just dragging it. Anchor.
Dragon.
It is just us this week, which is either you love it or you hate it. Christy calls this the bro podcast. I'm not sure.
I know. I don't know.
Not sure where that comes from. But,
I
you
think
know,
it's
word up,
sarcastic
brah.
because we make fun of like tech bros and I guess crypto bros and now AI bros.
My
So-
daughter says brah all the time. And I'm just like, oh, no. I have to mercilessly make fun of her because I can't.
Brah. And my younger daughter, who's 16, yesterday we were out and about, and at least 15 times through the couple of hours that we were out here.
Oh, I don't know
Fire.
that one.
And I was like, okay.
Is
guess
brah
it's-
the new dude?
It's the
'Cause, like,
verbal fire emoji or something. Just brah
when
is
I
like
was
the
a
Hawaiian
kid-
slang for bro. So yeah,
Sure,
it's just like
but-
dude, bro, man,
When
whatever.
dude, when I was a teenager, was an entire language, right? It could be used
The same
as a
thing now
noun,
with bro
an
and brah.
adjective, a verb,
Yeah.
anything. You could have an entire conversation with the word dude. And I guess brah has turned into that. But it's even weirder when it's a girl saying it. Like, that's what I find so weird, is it has crossed boundaries. It's a
Yeah.
universal language, brah. Anywho, what are we going to talk about? Worst way to start a conversation.
Gen Z slang. Yeah,
Gen Z slang.
because nobody's doing
cap.
that online.
Full
No
cap.
cap.
No cap? I
Capped.
stink at that.
You're capped.
My kids are officially at the very tail end of Gen Z, right? They're the youngest members of Gen Z. And so it's funny, they're already talking schmack about Gen Alpha and how crappy they are. So, man, that's hardcore. But I don't know. I was just this morning, actually, I was working out and I was listening to a podcast. And the question of the podcast was, if you're a Gen Z or millennial, should you save for retirement because the world's going to hell?
Yeah,
That was the question.
it's basically.
And it was an hour-long thing that basically said, the world's probably not going to go to hell. You should probably save for retirement. That was
Yeah.
an hour.
Start now though, because you're going to need at least $35 million just to maintain.
Just to keep going. Oh, my goodness. So we're supposed to talk about tech stuff, right?
Yes, there's been a couple announcements recently, of course, AI related, but I guess the promises and the hype don't always live up to the actual use cases. But within our company, we just recently switched from using the Chat GPT, I guess you could say Pro mode or whatever it was.
Pro
for-
mode, yeah, pro version.
Yeah, for our developers, to, I guess you pulled the cord and went with Anthropic.
Yes, Claude,
And
which is not the
Claude.
best name. Yeah, we
But
switched.
they have something that they just came out with now, which is like the Prompt Enhancer 5000 or something.
Oh, I'm very intrigued by that. That's brand new. Yeah, that just started talking about that, where AI will help you improve your prompting so that you can get better
So
answers.
AI
I think
helps
that's
you
very
use
cool.
AI.
Oh, that's
Nice.
been a thing for a while. I remember
Super
a year or so
Doppler
ago.
8000.
There's several branches we could go with this. So what's interesting with that is, so we switched to Claude, and the question is why. It's honestly an experiment. We had been using the pro version. So our team has account for the pro version of ChatGPT, and we've been using it. All of our devs use it every day, or some version of it. They'll either use ChatGPT, or sometimes they're using Copilot, which is built into GitHub. But they're using it, something like that, every day to help them code. And on average, I would say it makes them 10 to 15% faster. And it's great. It's a great
Even if
tool.
it's just reassuring that the solution they're about to put in code is semantically right, correct, or whatever.
Well, there's
I know they've been
two-
using that a lot too for just, it's not so much write this for me, but it's like, am I writing this right?
Our guys are pretty senior. They're not doing that very much. Our guys typically don't get stuck on syntax. Where they're using it is two ways. One, I have to do something totally out of left field, and I haven't done this in 5 years. help me, right? Give me a block of code. 2, I've got a weird bug that I can't figure out. Here's a good example. I used it just the other day.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Can you just paste like a whole bunch of code and say like, where's the bug?
You can post an error message and it will tell you probably where the bug is, which is wild.
Sweet.
So for instance, a good example, I was writing, and you were involved in this with me. I was building emails, which HTML emails is the bane of my existence. But we have transactional emails, signups, those kind of things. They're very common in systems. And so I was building
I just
a
wait
few of them.
before you continue on the record. I just want to say you got the rollover, the hover effect to work in an email. I don't know how you did it, but congratulations. It was awesome. It was a surprise.
It still
when I
doesn't
saw
work
the
in
test.
Outlook.
I was like, nothing works in Outlook. Let's be real.
I do have that.
But still, Outlook is the Microsoft Paint of email. But
oh my gosh, it's 1995, forever in Outlook.
Okay, so anyways, you were coding emails.
Yeah, so I was building, that's a good segue because I was building these emails, and I know that's super boring, but I ran into an issue where, just like we were saying, it looked good in Gmail, but it looked like crap in Outlook, which is a very common problem. And it's because Outlook uses a very archaic way of displaying stuff. And normally, a year or two ago, I would have had to go and figure out which piece of code does Outlook not like and go and replace that with something that it did. And that's a very tedious process. So what I did was I grabbed my code, threw it into AI and said, Outlook hates this, why? And it told me exactly what to do. And it was magic. Saved me at least half an hour. That
awesome.
is muy bueno. The other thing it'll do is we're finding a lot of guys will take a code that they've written, a function, just a blob of stuff to do something. They'll copy and paste it into AI and say, make it better. And it will. That's very cool as well. So those are the things. So we were like, okay, I read a lot about AI, as you can imagine. I'm just a big dork. And a lot of people are saying Anthropic has taken the lead over ChatGPT in terms of how good it is, especially in coding. So
I have read that for the coding part, apparently it is much better, much more accurate, more often.
I can't tell you we have a verdict yet. Maybe in a few months, we should revisit this briefly because we just switched, a week or two ago, but it's cool. I like the conversational tone of Claude, which again, worst name ever. I don't know what it is about it. It's very subtle. When you ask it a question, it's not quite as butt kissy as ChatGPT is.
It's not as fake nice.
Oh, it's so bad. Anyway, so we just did that. But what's interesting is I'm hearing when it comes to AI, and I know everybody's tired of talking about this, or are they? I don't know. There are two paths that I'm hearing simultaneously. You have Sam Altman, and I cannot remember his name, the guy who started Anthropic. He left OpenAI, started Anthropic. They're on one side, and they just came out with these big blog posts a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, talking about how we're going to have AGI, which is, what does that stand for again? Artificial General Intelligence. There it is. Where it's basically the definition of that is that the AI is smarter than humans in any economically viable means. So it's a better writer than you. It's a better coder than you. It's a better anything. It can do most jobs. That's what they are calling AGI. And they're saying it is a year or two away. Now, coincidentally, they are also raising billions of dollars at the same time. So of course they're very gung-ho about this, right? But on the other side, literally a week later, we get all these other nerds, not those two guys, but they're these other AI nerds, very well-respected people in the industry, saying, hey, dude, the difference between ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 5 is so small that it's not even a tangible difference. That's what they're saying. Now, this is all internal.
And this is also coming up right after like a bunch of mainstream articles about how in the marketplace is just not sustainable. The cost,
there's no money in it.
It's just insane to run it, and there's no one's making the money back. Yeah.
So they consume the entire internet, right? Which is basically the store of all human knowledge for all intents and purposes, right? They've read, all of the models have now read, illegally or not, they've read the entire internet.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, how do we make them better? We have run out of stuff so they started making their own data. So a few months ago, they came out with a reasoning model called O1 that theoretically thought better than the other models. Okay, so they took that model and had it generate a bunch of stuff that the other model read.
Yeah, I've seen this movie.
as convoluted as that sounds, it ended about as well as you would expect. It got bad. The data it was making was bad, and so the models did not improve. So we hear both sides of it, that one, AGI is right around the corner, but I think those guys are trying to get your money. And then two, the scientists saying, dude, we're running out of, these aren't getting any better. So now the question becomes, if it's not getting any better, how do we take the amazing thing we have now? It is amazing,
Yeah.
but how do we turn that into a real product? None of these guys are good at making products yet. No one's paying those $20 a month fees that we were just talking about that we pay. Most people don't pay that. Most people use it for free. And now Apple Intelligence is out. I have the beta. It is not great. I hate to spoil it for you. It is pretty useless.
Yeah.
I've made a lot of Genmojis. I've made a lot of image playground things. They're all really bad. And I cannot figure out for the life of me when I would actually use it. Now, maybe Genmojis will be cute with teenagers, but other than that.
I was so ready for it to come out just so that apparently if the writing tools part were good enough that I could just get rid of Grammarly, because while Grammarly does a great job, Grammarly's interface and little icons are so invasive and annoying in every app that I use that I just can't stand it. So I just wanted to get
what is
rid
your
of
verdict
Grammarly.
of it? Is it useful?
Not all the apps I use were able to use the writing tools, which I know Apple offers support for any third-party app as long as the third-party app says, yeah, let's use it.
Yeah,
And
but give it a few
ironically,
months.
the thing I write in that I want the help in the most is email. In Slack, I really don't care because it's mainly to you guys and like it's internal. So
Sure.
if it's, people will understand, especially if I'm talking to Christy. She's the worst. She's going to be listening to this laughing. No, but so typically if I'm writing anything to a client, I want it to look more polished or whatever. And so Spark, the company that makes the email software I use, or Readdle or whatever, they have two versions. They have Spark and then they have Spark Desktop is the newer one that also you can pay a premium for their AI functions.
Of course.
I was using that without the AI functions and I loved it. And then I was like, oh, if I could use the writing tools instead of Grammarly and the newer version of Spark, that'll be perfect. But of course you can't. In the old Spark version, you can. You can use the Apple Intelligence writing tools. So I went back to the old Spark version.
Now, the question though is when you use the Apple writing tools, are they worth a darn?
For what I'm using them for, yeah, they're fine.
Okay.
They're like, I'm not asking it to write anything for me. I just want it to proofread mine and maybe if I want like a different tone, I'll just copy and paste it and see what they come up with. And if I don't like it, I get rid of it or I might grab a sentence or two from it. You know what I mean? Overall, I just wanted to make sure I don't have any dumb spelling or grammar errors.
But how many Apple Intelligence now is what, the 12th or 13th proofreader that has been released? Is this the height of our new AI overlords? Like they can read our stuff and rewrite it for us? I mean,
I think there's other better proofreaders and writers and stuff. I just wanted the convenience factor of it being baked into the operating system where I didn't need a third party app to do it.
No, I get that. I'm just
premium for the other apps to do it too. But
I'm just saying that seems to be like they all offer the same 5 functions. I'm going to make you an image. I'm going to read your junk and rewrite it. I might write you a poem. Maybe now Apple does the summary of your text messages, which is generally
useless. And it combines all the messages into one awkward Franken message that makes no sense.
And you still click on it to read the real messages. Like that's the show that doesn't work. So if none of that's working and they've spent gazillions of dollars on it, and I have the next version, which I promise you is just as stupid.
Big Pixel builds world-class custom software and amazing apps. Our team of pros puts passion into every one of our projects. Our design-infused development leans heavily on delivering a great experience for our clients and their clients. From startups to enterprises, we can help craft your ideas into real-world products that help your business do better business.
I think they said something around the estimate OpenAI costs $13 billion to run a year right now. They just raised $6.5 billion. That gives them 6 months of runway, unless I'm misunderstanding something. And all of that is compute. They are who's making the money. It's the same joke as, and I think I've said this before, but in the gold rush of the 1850s, the people who made the money weren't the people who went and got gold. It was the people
They
who
were
made
the ones
pickaxes.
selling the maps.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
They make pickaxes and shovels. That's who made the
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Who's making the money now? It's AWS and Azure.
Oh, yeah,
They
for
are
sure.
raking it in because all of these companies have to use all of their servers. And Google, I'm sure, is making some money off of that because they have their own Google Cloud Engine or whatever. But dude, I think at the end of the day, I think OpenAI is going to, this is my call. OpenAI is going to disappear because they're never going to be able to productize it. Microsoft's just going to eat them, is my guess. And
I don't know, man. Rabbit just announced they have a new update where you could change the interface. And I'm saying that sarcastically because Rabbit was the biggest scam ever when it came
here's
to
the
AI
thing.
products.
Rabbit, I heard a long interview with their founder. And what he is basically doing with that is what everyone is excited about to be next. Everything you hear the word agentic, right? That's what he's doing. He's just doing it on an old scale model. But all he did, like when you use Rabbit, and if you don't know what Rabbit is, it was this really pretty orange little box that was very cool designed. It was designed by this famous company called Teenage Engineering. And it basically was AI, and you could ask the little rabbit to go and say, play Spotify for you, was a classic example, or order you an Uber, right? And it would go and literally use the website for you and do it. So when you asked it to play a song in Spotify, it literally went on a server that you never saw, opened up Spotify, clicked on the buttons, pushed play for you, and it played through the speaker. That's literally what it did. Not an API, not anything. It used the website. Now that sounds so silly, but whenever you hear the word agentic, that's exactly what they're talking about. It is going to go and use the computer for you. That is what these things can do. Oh, I have a spreadsheet on the left and I have a web form on the right. I need you to use my computer for me and do it. That's agentic AI. What Rabbit is talking about that everyone's making fun of them for is what everyone's excited about for next year. That's what's hilarious. Is we've already seen it in Rabbit. It's already dumb. We're going to spend another $10 billion building this again, and we're still going to think it's dumb. That's the problem. I don't get it. If it
But
really
NFTs
did that,
are making a comeback.
oh,
It's a
that's exactly
sarcastic
what I'm.
joke.
Hey, but
Yeah.
give you my monthly update. Let me pull up a real time.
Oh,
update.
yeah. I heard Bitcoin and Ethereum is taking off again.
Let's see.
It's
My
going to be
$1,000
the-
bet I made 5 years ago is currently worth $910. So
Ooh,
I'm
a
10%
little-
down, which is better. I went down as low as 300. So
Yeah.
I still have not made any money in 5 years. So this return on investment is killing it. But anyway, I've said this. I'm coining the phrase, when it comes to AI, I'm excited and tired. That's what I am. Because the potential is there. Anytime you write and you have it explain something to you, it's magic. It's just amazing. But then every product I've seen is just another rip of the same junk that's not very good to begin with. I really want to have Her. Like, I love that. I would love the movie Her to be real. Not the relationship part of it. Please don't get me wrong. Just I'm not
The
looking to replace
integration
my
of
wife.
AI into your life.
To be able to have a personal assistant that honestly can read my emails, tell me what's actually important, read those to me, tell me actions I can do, go and do this, go and reserve that, whatever. That's awesome. We are
And sound
so
like Scarlett
far from
Johansson.
that. Oh, that's a given. She's got a lovely voice. She really does. Have you heard that whole thing about OpenAI trying to get her voice and she said no?
Oh,
and they
yeah,
used it
yeah,
anyways.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But I want it to work. Like, the nerd in me is just let it work. But I think we had a client that I tried to build a prototype for. That's really neat, dude. I would never show that to my clients because it wasn't good enough. That's where we've
basically,
been
in a
perpetually.
nutshell, exactly where we are. And you're right. You do get a very cool sense of whether it's excitement or accomplishment or whatever. Just like anytime you ask it to summarize something, or if, like for me, if I'm looking for a specific, I guess you could say, way to do something in an app that I haven't seen before or haven't seen a tutorial. Like an example would be when I'm doing stuff in Webflow. I'm not really a coder, but if I ask it like, hey, in Webflow, how do I do this and add this? Do I need to do like an embed or whatever? And then just give me step by step exactly how to do it the simplest way. Yeah, it's magic.
Magic.
But then if I'm like, hey, can you take this image and make this slightly different, but add this here? And it's like me. Now there's a new, I guess you could say, image generation program that I've been using called Visual Electric. That is probably the best one I've used so far because you can actually establish like a photographic style. So it'll keep generally the same kind of color tones, and you could change, or one of the coolest things is if you have an image you want to use as a reference, you don't just upload the image. You could upload the image and then you could have it create a prompt of how that image might have been created. And then you could use that prompt as a starter prompt for a style. And then
they tried to
you
do
could
that with OpenAI and they
kind
stopped
of
doing it.
And they have a mode called Art Director where you can generate a couple and then you could take pieces that you like and pieces that you don't like and then put that together into a style. And it becomes more and more accurate along the lines of what you want it to look like. No, it's not as good as, I love this image, but can you move the person's hand to the left? And it'll do it. Now, it won't do that. It'll generate a new image, but you could do things like make this color tone more cinematic with the magenta and green overtones or whatever. And it gets as close as you could probably imagine without you having to go into Photoshop and do this stuff yourself.
Here's $1 billion idea I just came up with. Are you ready? Why
don't
have
say
we...
No, don't say it.
Don't ruin it. It's
You
fine.
got to write it down and mail it to yourself. Then say it.
Then I got it. Why have they not created an AI image generator that generates, let's say I say, make me a photo of a little girl flying a kite on the beach. Okay.
Yeah.
Why can't they make that? They generate the image, but they do it in layers so that the beach is one layer, the kid is a layer, the kite is a layer. And then I could say, oh, I love the beach. Don't change the beach. Change the little girl. And all it would do is it would keep the background. Why haven't they done that? That seems like a no-brainer.
Because that's probably in the future. But I do know the way that images are generated are based on, they're just tonal values of pixels and then tonal values of colors. And then those are just generated pixel by pixel based on the pixel next to them. So they would have to do a whole image that's a beach, and then they would have to try to read that image as a beach and then try to redo it again with a girl and then remove the beach. You know what I mean? Like,
why can't they just do the beach? Like just split up the prompt into 3 things: girl, kite, beach. Make a beach.
That's what you can do in Photoshop. Like you can generate an image of a beach, then you can make a new layer and generate an image of a girl and then put them together. You can in Photoshop. Yeah.
Okay. In Photoshop, you have the new, what is that, Firefly? Isn't that what they call that?
Yeah, Firefly is their engine, but in Photoshop, you can use their image generation tools, which is powered by Firefly. Yeah.
Gotcha. I don't know. What I think, and I guess the reason I harp on this is I don't hear enough realistic talk about AI. All I hear is hype. And as someone who's knee deep in this stuff, I can see the truth. I'm not an expert. I'm not going to claim to be an expert. But I'm in it deep enough to know that this thing is not what they're saying. I see the bill of goods for what it is. It's hype that can do very neat things, but not what they're saying it can do. There's not enough people out in the world that are being honest about this. This stuff is not nearly as cooked. Because if you talk to a OpenAI spokesperson, they're talking about digital God. Like they're right there. They're going to make a digital God who can do all things to all people within a year. I can't even get the thing to spell correctly, right? I can't even get it to make me code that I don't have to rewrite half of it. You know what I'm saying? It's a tool that's helpful, but it is not doing a third of what these companies are saying it can do. And they're like, well, you haven't seen our latest models. Okay, they can't be that much better. Right? No way. I don't know. I just wish there was more realism about it. It was the same thing with crypto. Because crypto behind the scenes had some amazingly cool tech. Blockchain and all of that, being able to keep a cryptographic chain of events that is unbreakable and blah, blah, blah. You can see who owned what in a history. That is neat stuff.
Yeah, no, I think you're excited and tired is actually really good because the hype does always outweigh the actual value. And they keep trying to, or they, meaning people who are selling not just AI, but products with AI in them, man, that hype is the only thing they're selling, because I'm sure after people sign up and start using it and realize that it's not worth what they were paying, they're probably dropping subscriptions as fast as they're getting them.
Oh, they certainly are. I think they said that OpenAI generated $3 billion in revenue. Now, do you think that's mostly those $20 a month subscriptions? No way. No way.
It's got to
They've
be
got
other
other
companies paying
businesses,
for API licenses and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
buying API licenses. And because the average Joe, maybe I'm living in a bubble, but almost everybody who's ever played with these things for more than 5 minutes run out of things to ask it. They don't even know what to do. And that Microsoft did come out with a new Copilot to try to solve that. Did you see that a few weeks ago? Where
Yeah,
they
I
kind
saw
of,
that. Well, OpenAI came out with their desktop app, which is basically just a prompt, on your desktop instead of going to the website. And then I saw Copilot added something. Don't know exactly what that is. And then that's where I also saw the Anthropic thing with the prompt optimizer or whatever. But
So
what's the Copilot thing?
The Copilot thing, they basically are trying to help you have ideas. It's when you open it up, it gives you like, hey, why don't you plan your vacation? And most people would be like, because it's normally you get a blinking cursor and that's the end of your experience. You're like, I don't even know what to ask it. It's, hey, why don't you plan a vacation? Hey, we can help you with a recipe. It's giving you ideas
Okay,
to try to
that's pretty
stimulate
cool.
your brain. It's neat because
It also
AI
sounds
is
like
really
the
good.
Arc
A little
browser
bit.
does that. Yeah. And Arc now is making a totally new web browser.
I gotta
And
say,
everybody's
man,
mad because it's like they said they're not going to stop supporting Arc
yes,
browser, but they're not really going to
put me on that bandwagon. Dude. I'm
hammer
a
in
little
new
cranky.
features. Yeah.
I'm a little cranky because I feel like I got bait and switched. Anybody who's listening
I've been
to this
using
podcast
Arc since it
know.
was in alpha. Like I was one of the
Yeah.
earliest signups. I have the holographic sticker for the welcome and thank you for helping us make this. So I've been on board for a long time. And yeah, I got to say, I was a little bit like, you know what? Maybe it's time to try out the Safari,
The new
the
AI
different
driven Safari.
personalization tabs. Yeah. I don't know.
I think they realized that there was no money in it. Like they had big grand plans and they realized
It's not so much that they realize that. I think it's the people investing in the company are just like, I don't see where you're going to make money on this yet. So maybe it's time to pivot. They did see all the hype about the Arc browser with the AI search on mobile.
I love
like,
that.
That's where you can make the money. So I think
I was
that's
surprised they
probably what
didn't
they're
put
gonna
that
try to
into the Arc desktop browser. I don't know why I can't make that my default search, like where it does the browsing for me.
do. Yeah.
I love that thing. I don't know why that's not in there.
It's
but anyways,
super cool.
They're totally going a different direction and they haven't even said what it is because they used to be talking about Arc 2.0 like it was going to be this great new update. And now they're like, never mind. Something totally
Well, the hints are it's like a browser and it's like an operating system. It's like how you would just have the simplest, most complete interaction with your computer that does what you want it to do. And I'm like,
they want to
so maybe that's the her
do
thing.
things.
Yeah.
We'll see. I get it. The reason I always thought it was such an interesting company is because I thought and I still do. I'm not taking this away from it.
Josh, you're talking about Josh.
Josh,
right?
the founder. Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows that ultimately the world is controlled by browsers. And that is 100% true. But most people don't realize that. Because if you think about the average Joe, my wife included, what does she do when she gets on a computer? She opens a browser. That's almost all of your software now is in the browser. And if you control that browser, you control very much. So he's right. He's like, I want to build a browser that's not, but it's still based on Chrome. So you're already married to Google.
I don't know if the new one's going to be. Is
That's
the
true.
new one they're building? I think that's the direction they're going, where it's not going to be.
I would be
based
surprised.
on a browser that's already foundational.
I would be surprised if they dropped Chromium because they're a pretty tiny company to be building their own engine. That's a big
What is Safari
undertaking.
built on? WebKit, right?
Yeah, it's their own. Apple built
Yeah.
their own. There's only 3 now. Mozilla has one. Firefox has its own engine.
Which I thought
Safari
that
has one.
Firefox was almost like Opera or something, like Linux-based at the base.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I just know they're their own engine. There's Chromium and then there's WebKit. Those are the 3 that I know because everything else is Chromium based. Like Brave,
Yeah.
that's Chromium. Almost every other thing you can think of is Chromium based. Edge is Chromium based, which is hilarious to me. That's Microsoft's
There is
browser.
another Arc competitor that was like open source. I think it was called Zen Browser or something like that.
Open source. Sure, that's going to work.
Yeah. Everybody loves open source until they start using it and go, why is this crap always breaking? Oh, you need
It
to
was,
do update. Oh, you got to do the new patch, the new update, the new install, the new this.
it's not even that. There's no money in it by definition. And a browser is so powerful that open source can't. The only reason Mozilla still exists is because Google pays them a ton of money. That's the
Really?
only reason they exist. They are the default search engine, and Google pays them bazillion dollars to do that, just like they pay Apple. Now, obviously, the number is different. The only reason Mozilla exists is because Google's paying them. Now, when Google,
That's kind of ironic.
isn't it ironic? I think they get paid like $2 billion a year to be the default thing, and they rail against the machine, but they're getting paid by the machine.
Taking Google's money to try to build something to go against Google is, yeah, that's hilarious.
What I am most excited about, that's too heavy of a word. I'm very intrigued to find out in the next year, the Department of, what is it?
FCC?
No, I think it's the Justice Department they just sued the crud out of Google. And one of the things, I think it was Department of Justice. Anyway, one of the big things that they're going to bring them to task is they are not going to be allowed to pay Apple $20 billion a year to be the default search engine anymore.
So that
And
means Apple might actually create their own search engine.
Yes. I think that is going to
That's
have
where AI is going to come in pretty heavy.
That's going to have very deep repercussions, because even if they don't build a Google competitor, they will build search-esque things into iOS that they are currently
at this
not
point,
doing.
Google's search is nothing but advertised returns.
It's crap.
It's
total
so
crap.
hard to find anything now. It used to be the greatest thing ever. But then again, that's when it was going against the Ask Jeeves and all the other ones.
But it was simple and it was straightforward, and now it's cluttered. It's the Yahoo. When Google came about, everyone was amazed because all it was a text box.
Search the results of Google now, which is
you had
insane.
Yahoo was in charge back in the day, if you're old enough to remember this. And when you went to Yahoo, it was cluttered mess. And now when you go to Google, now it's the cluttered mess, and it's ripe. Now with all the DOJ and all that. Now, who knows what the new president coming in and what he's going to do, and Elon. I mean, say what you want. There's a lot of weirdness there. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but Google got sued. They lost. And here's another thing that's really interesting. I think if I remember correctly, Apple made $100 billion in profit, which is insane. But think about 20 billion of that was Google. That will go away. That's a huge, even for the largest company in the world, that is a huge chunk of profit that just gone. So lots of things will change because of this. And 2025 and 2026 are going to be very interesting because of this.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
But then again, I don't think it's something that's going to be like, oh crap, this all sucks now. I think it's going to be I think it's almost like a new starting point where they can, actually improve on the search results. And just to go back to ARC, the incorporating of AI into filtering the results of a search to be something a little bit more meaningful without all the ads and listicles and stuff. Like, man, if Apple can replicate that, but in a grander scale,
there's a lot,
because then Google's going to have to do something to compete against that.
There's a lot there though, because right now, one of the things ARC knows that they're doing badly, and they're getting a lot of crap for it, is if you use their mobile browser, you don't have to go to the websites anymore. It's reading them for you. So those websites are no longer making any money off of it. So those websites are hurting. And if that became the norm, those websites die. And that cannot stand. Like, eventually there's no content for it to read, et cetera, et cetera. It becomes a death spiral. So somehow that will have to be changed. And I don't know what that looks like, but I will say, for the first time in probably 15 to 20 years, the search world, which is how the web is used, is changing. Google has been in charge for so long that AI will disrupt that. That is going to be very interesting. You already see it because everyone's tired of Google, but where else are you going to go? They're a monopoly, right? Proven to be now a monopoly. You don't have a choice. You can go to Bing. Come on. You can go to Google because it's still crap, but you're going to go there. But now, if you have another tool that just gets rid of all that, or even like ChatGPT has now their own search. Have you used that yet? That's not interesting.
No, because you took the license away right when they came out with it.
That's true.
I still have my own account, but I'm not paying ChatGPT, and you can't use that without paying. So
we've been able to. You should have been able to use it. I've been using the search stuff on our old account because they haven't kicked us out yet.
Oh, I didn't even try. I just switched over to the Anthropic account.
Yeah, but it's anyway. So it's interesting. You get it's a clean version. It looks like Google 20 years ago. It's just search. It's pretty neat. And Perplexity is the same concept if you've ever been there. Perplexity.ai.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
They're okay.
Perplexity's not really ranked as high as ChatGPT or Claude when it comes to actual like AI that can do stuff or give you answers to questions when it's related to like code and programming and stuff like that. I heard they're okay, but not as good. And I heard it was more of like filtering through a bunch of stuff to get more specific answers, but not as in-depth answers. Is that kind of correct?
I used Perplexity for about, 3 months. And I will say I learned there are 2 types of searches. And it's like shopping. Sometimes you want to shop because you need a pair of jeans. You're going to walk into the store, you're going to buy the jeans, you're going to get out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go in and you got some time to kill. You want to research a little bit. You want to go and look around the store. You want to touch stuff. You want to play around. That's how the searching works. Sometimes you want an answer. What is the temperature right now in Uganda? Boom, I need an answer. Sometimes you want to research. Sometimes you want to read sites.
What's the weather like in Uganda during these months?
Or how can I make a vacation to Uganda? And in that case, I like the Google links. I want to read the websites. I want to read the listicles. I want to consume information.
Yeah.
When you want to consume information, Perplexity is very bad because it's trying to give you an answer. And I don't have an answer. I want to play. But if I want an answer, Perplexity is great. Hey, what's the capital of Rwanda? Whatever. But answer. What is it? Give me a story or whatever. I want to shop about TVs. It'll say, here's a list of 5 TVs, but that's not the same as reading reviews and eating it and getting in there. And that's where I think Perplexity and ChatGPT search fail. Nerd 101 right there.
You can't spell fail without AI.
Did you just make that up? That's pretty good.
Was it?
That's pretty good. I'll give it to you.
Felt a little embarrassed after I said it, but then again, I was like, I could see that on a coffee mug.
Oh, I could, man, I'd have that t-shirt all day. I'd wear that t-shirt. I think on that note, I think that's the high point of the day right there. We should go. All right. Thank you for whoever is stuck with us this whole time for another bro podcast.
Yeah, Christy, thanks for calling us the bros.
Bros.
Brah.
We will be back next week with a guest, per usual, and we will pick it up from there.
This episode was fire.
Oh my gosh, get out.
Hi, I'm Christy Pronto, Content Marketing Director here at Big Pixel. Thank you for listening to this episode of the BizDev Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email, hello@thebigpixel.net. The BizDev Podcast is produced and presented by Big Pixel. See you next week.